I remember the exact moment my thumb hovered over the block button. My phone screen glowed in the dark of my apartment. It was 2 a.m. in Los Angeles. I could hear the distant hum of the 101 freeway outside my window. My client's words were still ringing in my ears. "Dude, your mom is something else," he'd said with a laugh. He wasn't being mean, but it felt like a punch to the gut. I'm Tyler Harris. I'm 27 years old. I build beautiful things for the internet. My life online is clean. It's all sharp logos and minimalist apartments. My Instagram is a portfolio. It's my ticket to bigger things. My company was starting to notice me. They were talking about a lead designer role. Everything was falling into place. And then there was my mom, Margaret Harris, 56 years old. She lives in the same small house in Ohio where I grew up. Her world is small. Mine is supposed to be huge. She comments on everything I post. Every single thing. It started out cute. A heart on a picture of my coffee. A "that's my boy" on a work announcement. But it changed. The comments got longer. She'd write paragraphs about memories I'd forgotten. Inside jokes from when I was 7. She'd tell stories about my dad, who left when I was too young to remember him. She'd write them right there, for all my 15,000 followers to see. For my boss to see. For my clients to see. I'd get texts from friends. "Your mom is iconic, man." They meant it nicely. But it made my skin crawl. I felt like a little kid again. The one with the hand-me-down clothes and a packed lunch when everyone else bought pizza. I worked so hard to leave that kid behind. To build Tyler Harris, digital designer. Not Tyler, Margaret's son. That night, after the client's comment, I couldn't take it. I was scrolling through my own profile. Her comment was right there under my latest post, a picture of my new desk setup, all white and chrome. Very cool, very adult. Her comment was a novel. "Remember that little desk you made out of cardboard boxes? You said you were a businessman. You'd sell me drawings for $1. You were always so creative. I still have one of those drawings framed in the hallway. I look at it every day. So proud of the man you've become." My face got hot. I could feel the embarrassment like a physical weight. My client had liked that comment. He'd seen that. He knew about the cardboard desk. He knew I used to sell my mom drawings for quarters. It felt like she was unraveling me, one comment at a time, pulling a thread and watching my whole perfect life come apart. So I did it. I went to her profile. I didn't think. I just tapped. Block. Confirm. I did it on Instagram. Then I went to Facebook. Block. Confirm. Twitter. Block. Confirm. It took less than a minute to erase my mother from my digital world. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I just put my phone down. The silence in my apartment was suddenly very loud. I thought I'd feel relief. A clean slate. No more embarrassing mom comments. But I just felt sick. A cold, hollow feeling in my stomach. The next few days were weird. My feed was clean. No more notifications from mom. My posts got the right kind of comments. Cool emojis, fire emojis, people saying awesome work. It was what I wanted. So why did it feel so empty? A week went by, then 2. I kept waiting for my phone to ring, or her to ask why she couldn't see my posts anymore. The call never came. The silence from Ohio was deafening. I told myself she was just busy. She was probably fine. She had her friends, her book club. I was a coward. I know that now. I couldn't face her. I couldn't explain that her love was embarrassing me. So I hid behind a block button. Then, Last night, I was scrolling through my friend Jake's Facebook. We went to college together. He's still friends with my mom. He always liked her. I saw a picture he was tagged in. It was a face I knew, a face I hadn't seen in weeks. It was my mom. My heart just stopped. It was a simple picture, a birthday cake, one of those supermarket sheet cakes with thick, sugary frosting. There was a single candle stuck in the middle. It wasn't lit. The caption was what made my blood run cold. He used to blow out the candles with me. That was it. No hashtags, no tags, just those 7 words. I stared at the screen. My hands started to shake. I looked at the timestamp. She posted this 2 days ago. 2 days. My birthday was last month. She always made a big deal about my half-birthday. 6 months after my real birthday. She said it was our little tradition, just the 2 of us. She'd buy a small cake, we'd put 1 candle on it, and we'd blow it out together. I forgot. I completely forgot. I tried to call her. My fingers fumbled with my phone. It went straight to voicemail. Her cheerful voice. "You've reached Margaret. Leave a message." I called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I scrolled back to the post. It had hundreds of comments. "Thinking of you, Margaret. Sending love. He loves you, dear." None of the comments were from her. She hadn't replied to a single one. I sat there in the dark, in my perfect, quiet apartment in Los Angeles, and I realized what I had done. I had blocked my mom. I had shut her out because her love didn't fit my aesthetic. And while I was curating my life, she was sitting in our old house in Ohio, lighting a single candle on a cake for a tradition I'd forgotten, a tradition that meant everything to her. And she wrote a post for me, a post I would never see, because I blocked her. What if that was the last thing she ever wrote for me? I can't stop thinking about that. I can't breathe when I think about it. I'm supposed to be on a work call right now, but I'm just sitting here, staring at my phone, staring at that cake. I keep imagining her sitting at the kitchen table, the same table where I did my homework, the same table where she'd pack my lunch. She puts the cake down. She takes the picture. She writes those words. And then she just sits there. And I wasn't there. I chose not to be. I'm supposed to be building this big life out here. But it feels so small now. So small. I get it now. I was so worried about looking cool. I was so worried about what strangers on the internet thought. I forgot about the one person who loved me before I had any followers. The one person who thought I was cool when I was just a kid with a cardboard desk. And I blocked her. I don't know what to do now. I feel like I'm going to be sick. I've tried calling 10 times. Nothing. I keep looking at that picture. 1 candle. He used to blow out the candles with me. I fumble with my phone settings, my hands trembling, trying to find the unblock button. It feels like the most important thing I've ever designed, and I'm failing at it. I need to know I'm not the only one who's ever messed up this badly, that this feeling in my chest isn't forever. I'm sitting here in LA, and it feels like the whole city is asleep except for me and this terrible mistake. Where are you right now? Just tell me what city you're in. Let me know someone is out there, listening to this. Please. The silence in my apartment is different now. It's heavy. It has a weight to it. Before, the quiet was just empty space between notifications. Now it feels like a judgment. I can hear the low hum of my computer, the one I use to design beautiful, silent things for the screen. It's buzzing at me. I can smell the stale coffee from the mug I haven't moved in hours. My throat is so tight it hurts to swallow. I finally found the unblock button. It was buried in menus, settings, privacy, blocked accounts. There she was, Margaret Harris. I tapped unblock. A little spinner appeared. For a second, nothing happened. My heart was pounding in my ears. Then it was done. She was back in my digital world, but I was still locked out of hers. I immediately went to her profile. I typed her name into the search bar with shaking fingers. Her picture loaded. It's an old one, from a few years ago. She's standing in her garden, smiling, holding a bunch of tomatoes. She looked happy. I scrolled down. The posts loaded. There were a few from her friends. Pictures of potlucks. A shared article about birds. Then I saw it. The cake. It was right there. The timestamp was still 2 days old. I clicked on it. I needed to see it bigger. I needed to see the details I missed. The cake was a vanilla sheet cake with that thick, bright blue frosting she loves. The kind that stains your teeth. The candle was a simple white one. It wasn't lit. The plate was the old green ceramic one, the one we always used for my half-birthdays. I could see the corner of the yellow checkered tablecloth in the shot. I know that tablecloth. I know every thread in it. I read the caption again. He used to blow out the candles with me. I started reading the comments. My eyes scanned them, desperate for a clue, for a sign of life from her. "Margaret, are you okay?" From her friend Carol. "Sending you so much love, honey." From Linda. From her book club. "He's a lucky boy to have a mom like you." From someone named Brenda. I scrolled and scrolled. Over 200 comments. People offering to bring her soup. People asking her to call them. People sharing their own stories of kids who moved away. It was a whole conversation, a whole community of concern, and she wasn't in any of it. She hadn't liked a single comment. She hadn't replied. It was like she had thrown a message in a bottle into the ocean and walked away from the shore. My mind started racing, painting pictures I didn't want to see. Did she sit there, waiting for a notification from me that would never come? Did she think I saw it and just ignored it? Did she think I didn't care? The thought made me physically dizzy. I had to put my phone down and put my head between my knees. I picked my phone back up. I didn't call her. I called her landline, the number for the house phone, the one with the long cord she'd stretch into the pantry for privacy. It rang and rang, and then her answering machine picked up. My own voice, from when I was a teenager, greeted me. "You've reached the Harris residence. We can't come to the phone right now." I'd recorded it as a joke. She never changed it. I heard the beep. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. What could I possibly say? "Hey, Mom. Sorry I digitally erased you from my life. Saw your sad cake post. Are you dead?" I hung up. I stood up and started pacing my apartment. My clean, minimalist apartment. The one with the white walls and the single piece of art. It felt like a museum. A museum of a life that wasn't really mine. I looked at my perfect desk, the one made of polished wood and steel. I tried to picture that cardboard box desk. I tried to remember the feeling of drawing on it. I couldn't. I had buried that kid so deep. I thought about all the times she commented. Not just the embarrassing ones. The "I'm so proud of you" comments. The "that looks delicious" comments. The "miss you" comments. I had viewed them all as clutter. Noise in my perfect feed. I never once saw them for what they were. Lifelines. They were her only way to reach into my new world and touch me. And I cut every single one. I sat back down and stared at my laptop. My work email was open. There was a message from my boss with the subject line, "Lead designer role, next steps." I didn't open it. I didn't care. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was that green plate and that single, unlit candle. What is she doing right now? Is she watching TV? Is she reading? Is she okay? The not knowing is a physical pain in my chest. It's a deep, aching hollow. I feel like I'm going to crawl out of my skin. I keep unlocking my phone, pulling up her contact, and just staring at it. My thumb hovers over the call button, but I'm frozen. I'm so scared. Scared of what I'll hear. Scared of what I won't hear. I blocked her to avoid a little embarrassment. Now I'm facing a fear so big, it feels like it's going to swallow me whole. This is the consequence. This right here. This cold, sick feeling. This is the price of that block button. I thought I was paying for a cooler image. I was actually paying with the one thing that ever really mattered. I'm just one guy in a quiet apartment in Los Angeles. The world is moving on without me. But my world has shrunk to the size of a phone screen and a picture of a cake. I feel so alone in this. I need to know if anyone else has ever felt this specific, terrible regret. Where are you watching this from? Just tell me the city. Just let me know I'm not screaming into a void. I grabbed my keys, my wallet. I didn't even put on shoes. I just ran out of my apartment in my socks. The concrete of the hallway was cold and gritty. I slammed the elevator button. The ride down to the parking garage felt like it took an hour. My mind was just one word. Go. 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 I got into my car. The leather seat was cold. I fumbled with the keys. My hands were shaking so bad. The engine roared to life. I backed out of my spot. I didn't have a plan. I just started driving. I was going to the airport. I had to get to Ohio. The 101 freeway was mostly empty. It was that dead time between late night and early morning. The streetlights streaked past my windows. I white-knuckled the steering wheel. I kept seeing that cake, that blue frosting, that single, stupid candle. I drove straight to LAX. I parked in the first lot I saw. I didn't even care what it cost. I jogged towards the terminal. Still in my socks, the automatic door slid open. The bright lights and the noise hit me like a wall. People were everywhere with their suitcases and their normal lives. I went to the first airline counter I saw. A woman with a tired smile asked if she could help me. I just blurted it out. I need a ticket to Columbus, Ohio. The next flight. My voice was rough. I probably looked insane. She typed on her keyboard. Her nails clicked. The sound was so loud. The next direct flight is at 6:15 a.m., she said. She looked at the clock behind her. That's in 3 hours. Okay, I said. I'll take it. I didn't ask the price. I just handed her my credit card. I didn't care. I would have paid anything. While she printed the ticket, I leaned against the counter. My legs felt weak. I looked at all the people around me. A couple was laughing about something. A guy was sleeping on his backpack. They had no idea. Their worlds weren't falling apart. My phone felt heavy in my pocket. I wanted to check her profile again, but I was too scared. What if something new was there? What if something worse was there? I got my boarding pass. I walked through security in a daze. The TSA agent gave me a weird look for not having shoes. I didn't explain. I just put my stuff in the bin and walked through the scanner. I found my gate. It was almost empty. I sat down in a hard plastic chair. I put my head in my hands. I tried to breathe. The air in the airport was dry and smelled like cleaning supplies and fast food. I could still smell the stale coffee on my own breath. 3 hours. I had to wait 3 hours. Every minute felt like an eternity. I pulled out my phone. I couldn't help it. I opened Facebook. I went to Jake's profile. I found the picture he was tagged in. I stared at it again. I zoomed in. I looked at her hands. You could see her fingers holding the edge of the green plate. Her nails were painted a light pink. She always painted her own nails. They were a little messy. She was right-handed, but always used her left hand to paint. They looked okay. That was a good sign, right? If she was painting her nails, she was okay. But then I read the caption again. He used to blow out the candles with me. The past tense. Used to. It felt so final. It felt like a eulogy for our tradition. I opened my texts. I scrolled all the way back. Our last text exchange was from over a month ago. She had sent me a picture of a weird-looking mushroom in her yard. I had replied with a laughing emoji. That was it. That was the last thing I ever said to my mother. A laughing emoji. I put my phone away. I felt like I was going to throw up. I stood up and started pacing the gate area. A janitor was mopping the floor nearby. The smell of the chemical cleaner mixed with the scent of cinnamon from a Cinnabon. It was a nauseating combination. He looked at me pacing in my socks, but didn't say anything. I thought about all the times I didn't answer her calls because I was busy. I was in a meeting. I was out with friends. I was designing something important. I thought about the birthday cards she sent every year without fail. The ones with $20 cash, even though I made 6 figures. I always deposited the check, but left the card on my counter for weeks. I never called to thank her. The gate started to fill up. Normal people with their carry-ons and their neck pillows. They were talking about meetings and vacations and kids. I felt like an alien among them. My crisis didn't belong here. It was too raw, too loud. They called my boarding group. I got in line. I handed the woman my boarding pass. She scanned it. "Have a nice flight," he said automatically. I walked down the jetway. The tunnel felt like it was squeezing me. The air was thick and smelled like jet fuel. I found my seat, a window seat. I slumped into it. I buckled my seatbelt. The plane was full of the sounds of people settling in, bags being shoved into overhead bins, chatter. I looked out the window at the dark tarmac. The ground crew in their reflective vests were directing traffic. I was really doing this. I was flying across the country because of a Facebook post, because of a cake. The plane started to back away from the gate. The flight attendants did their safety demonstration. I didn't listen. I just stared out the window as Los Angeles got smaller. The sprawling city of lights, the city I worked so hard to make my home. It looked so insignificant from here. Just a bunch of tiny, glowing dots. As the plane lifted into the air, my stomach dropped. The pressure change made my ears pop. I closed my eyes. All I could see was her face, her smile from that garden picture. I wondered if she was smiling now. I wondered if she was asleep in her bed in Ohio, or if she was awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why her son had disappeared. The guy next to me was already snoring softly. How could anyone sleep? How could the world just keep turning? I felt like mine had stopped. It had stopped the moment I saw that picture. We reached cruising altitude. The captain turned off the seatbelt sign. The flight attendants started preparing the drink cart. I felt trapped. I was in a metal tube, hurtling through the sky, completely powerless. I couldn't call. I couldn't text. I couldn't do anything but sit here and think. And wait. The wait was the worst part. The not knowing. The imagining. Every worst-case scenario played on a loop in my head. What if I landed and it was too late? What if I got to the house and it was empty? What if I had to hear the news from a stranger? What if that post really was the last thing? I leaned my head against the cool plastic of the window. I watched the sun begin to rise over the clouds. It was beautiful, a streak of orange and pink across the sky. It felt wrong that something could be so beautiful while I felt so terrible. This was the consequence. This helplessness, this dread. This was the real cost of that block button. It wasn't just a setting I changed. It was a choice I made. And now I was flying through the dawn, hoping I hadn't made it too late. The flight attendant's voice crackles over the speaker, telling us we're beginning our descent into Columbus. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs. The guy next to me wakes up, stretches, and asks if I'm visiting family. I just nod. I can't form words. My throat is sealed shut with a fear I've never known. The plane touches down with a jolt that feels like a punctuation mark. The end of one terrible journey, the start of another. Everyone stands up, grabbing their bags, a slow, shuffling river of people. I have nothing. No bag, no shoes, just my wallet and my phone. I get weird looks. I don't care. I need to get off this plane. The airport in Columbus is smaller, quieter. It smells different. It smells like home, or what used to be home. I walk straight out of the terminal, into the cool, damp Ohio morning. The air is thick with a smell I forgot I knew. Wet grass and distant rain. It's a punch to the gut. I hail a cab, the first one I see. I get in the back seat. The vinyl is cracked and sticky. The driver asks me where to. I give him the address. My voice is a stranger's. He nods and pulls away from the curb. I stare out the window as the city blur, turns into suburbs, then into open fields. The landscape gets flatter, greener, familiar. Every barn, every silo is a memory I tried to delete. My phone has service again. It buzzes in my hand. A notification from my work Slack. I ignore it. I open Facebook instead. My thumb hovers over her name. I'm too scared to tap it. What if there's a new post? What if there's nothing? Both possibilities are terrifying. I just watch the little profile picture circle go by as we drive. Her smiling face next to those tomatoes. The cab turns onto her street. My street. The trees are bigger. Mr. Henderson's fence is still that same shade of peeling white. My heart is trying to escape my chest. I can feel it in my throat. Here? The driver asks, slowing down. I just nod. I pay him with a crumpled bill from my wallet. I don't wait for change. I get out of the cab. The pavement is cold and rough under my socks. I'm standing at the end of the driveway. Our driveway. The house looks the same. White with dark green shutters. Her flower beds are a little overgrown. The porch light is off. The whole street is quiet. It's that still, early hour where nothing moves. I start walking up the driveway. Every step feels heavy, like I'm walking through wet cement. I can see the kitchen window. The yellow checkered curtain is pulled back. I can't see inside. The garage door is closed. Her car is probably in there. Is she here? Is she sleeping? Is she? I reach the front porch. The wooden boards creak under my weight. A sound I've heard a million times. I stand in front of the door. The screen door has a little tear in the mesh near the bottom. I put my hand on the cool metal of the main door. I can't knock. I'm frozen again. What do I say? What do I do? I lean forward and peer through the narrow window next to the door. The living room is dark. I can make out the shape of the couch, the TV, the lamp. Everything is exactly where it should be. It looks normal. It looks peaceful. That somehow makes it worse. I take a deep breath. I have to do this. I raise my hand to knock, but my fist just hangs in the air. I can't make it connect with the wood. The fear is a physical wall. What if she opens the door and she's angry? What if she's hurt? What if she's not here at all? I lower my hand. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I need a second. I sit down on the top step of the porch. The concrete is cold. I put my head in my hands. I listen. I hear a bird singing. A dog barking far away. The hum of a lawnmower a few blocks over. Normal Saturday morning sounds. Then I hear something else. A faint, rhythmic squeaking. I know that sound. It's the sound of the old faucet in the kitchen. The one that squeaks when you turn it on. Someone is in the kitchen. Someone is using the sink. I stand up so fast I get dizzy. The squeaking stops. A moment later, the back door, the one that leads from the kitchen to the screened-in porch, opens. I hear the familiar whine of its hinges. And then I see her. She steps out onto the back porch in her robe, her fuzzy pink robe. She's holding a coffee mug. She's looking out at the bird feeder, not towards the front where I am. She takes a sip of coffee. She's here. She's alive. She's okay. The relief is so immense, it buckles my knees. I have to grab the porch railing to stay upright. A sob catches in my throat. She's okay. She's just drinking coffee on a Saturday morning. She must hear me, or sense me. She turns her head. Her eyes meet mine across the side yard. She freezes. The coffee mug stops halfway to her mouth. Her expression is pure, unadulterated shock. She wasn't expecting me. She wasn't expecting anyone. We just stare at each other for what feels like a full minute. The world has stopped. The bird has stopped singing. I see her face change. The shock melts away. And what replaces it? It's not anger. It's not even confusion. It's sadness. A deep, weary sadness that makes her shoulders slump. She lowers her mug. She doesn't smile. She doesn't wave. She just looks at me, her son, standing on her front porch in the dawn, with no shoes on. She looks tired. She turns slowly and walks back into the house through the screen door. It swings shut behind her. I hear her footsteps inside. She's coming to the front door. This is it. The moment I've been flying towards. The consequence is waiting for me on the other side of this door. I can hear the deadbolt turn. The knob rotates. The door opens. She's standing there, holding the door open. Her eyes are red-rimmed. She's been crying. Recently. She looks at me, really looks at me, from my messy hair down to my dirty socks. "Tyler," she says. Her voice is quiet, hoarse. "What are you doing here?" And I have no answer. I have no polished, cool, designer answer. All I have is the truth, raw and ugly and sitting in the pit of my stomach. "I saw your post," I whisper. My voice breaks. The take. Her face crumples, just for a second. Then she steels herself. She nods slowly. "I know," she says. "I wondered if you would." She steps back, holding the door open wider. A silent invitation. To come in. To face what I've done. The house smells the same. Like lemon polish and coffee and her perfume. It smells like my childhood. It smells like everything I tried to leave behind. I step over the threshold. The floorboards creak their familiar greeting. I am home. And I have never felt more like a stranger. I stood in the hallway, just inside the door. The familiar smell of home wrapped around me like a ghost. Lemon polish, coffee, the faint floral scent of her perfume. It was all exactly the same. But I was different. I was a visitor in my own past. My mom closed the door behind me. The click of the latch was so final. She didn't look at me. She just walked past, her slippers whispering on the hardwood floor, and headed towards the kitchen. I followed her, my socked feet silent. I felt like I was 10 years old again, trailing after her. The kitchen was bright. Morning sun streamed through the window over the sink. It lit up the yellow checkered curtains. It lit up the little ceramic rooster on the counter. It lit up the small, round kitchen table where I'd eaten 1,000 bowls of cereal. And it lit up the cake. It was sitting right in the middle of the table, on a green plate. The same green plate from the photo. It was real. The cake was small. Just a simple, store-bought vanilla cake with blue frosting. The kind you get from the grocery store bakery. And right in the center, stuck into the thick layer of blue, was a single white candle. It hadn't been lit. The wick was still clean and new. I just stared at it. My throat closed up. That stupid cake. That single candle. It had pulled me across the country. It had brought me here. Standing in my mother's kitchen with no shoes on. She was over by the counter, refilling her coffee mug. Her back was to me. Her shoulders were tense. The silence in the room was heavy. It was a physical thing, pressing down on both of us. "I'm sorry," I said. The words came out quiet, rusty. She didn't turn around. She just picked up the coffee pot. Her hand was shaking, just a little. I saw the dark liquid slosh inside the glass carafe. "Sorry for what, Tyler?" she asked. Her voice was flat, tired. "For showing up unannounced, or for the month of silence before that?" I flinched. She had never used that tone with me before. It wasn't angry. It was hollow. It was worse than anger. "For everything," I managed to say. I gestured weakly towards the table. "For the cake, for your birthday. I forgot." She finally turned around. She leaned against the counter, holding her mug with both hands. She looked older in the harsh morning light. The lines around her eyes seemed deeper. "You didn't forget," she said softly. "You just chose not to remember." She took a slow sip of coffee. Her eyes were on the cake, too. "That wasn't for my birthday," she said. I looked from her face to the cake and back again. Confusion cut through the guilt. "What? But the caption, you said—" "I know what I said," she interrupted, her voice gaining a sliver of strength. "That cake, I bought that cake the day after my birthday, a week ago. I sat right here, at this table, and I ate a piece by myself. I thought about calling you. I had my phone in my hand, but I didn't, because what was the point?" She walked over to the table and pulled out a chair. She sat down, her movements slow and deliberate. She looked small in the big wooden chair. "That post," she continued, nodding towards the cake. "That wasn't about my birthday. It was about yours." Now I was completely lost. My birthday wasn't for another 6 months. She must have seen the confusion on my face. A sad, almost smile touched her lips. It didn't reach her eyes. "When you were little," she began, her voice drifting into a memory. "Your birthday was my favorite day of the year, not because of the presents or the party, but because of the cake. You were so impatient. You could never wait for me to finish singing. You'd get this determined little look on your face. You'd lean over, and you'd puff out your cheeks, and you'd blow with all your might. But you were so little, you could never blow out all the candles by yourself. You'd always get the first few, but the last 1 or 2 would stay lit. So I'd lean in, and I'd help you. We'd blow them out together, every year, until you were about 8. Then you could do it all by yourself. You didn't need my help anymore." She reached out and touched the rim of the green plate with one finger, tracing the circle. "A few days ago, I was cleaning out the hall closet. I found an old photo album. There were pictures from your 7th birthday. You had chocolate cake all over your face. You were mid-blow, and I was right there next to you, my cheeks puffed out too. We were a team." She looked up at me. Her eyes were glistening. And I missed it. I missed that. I missed being on your team. So I went to the store. I bought a cake. I put one candle on it. And I sat here and I tried to remember what it felt like to blow out the candles with my son. A single tear escaped and traced a path down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. The post, it was just a feeling, a moment of weakness. I was feeling sorry for myself. I didn't think anyone would see it. I certainly never thought you would. The truth landed in my gut like a stone. It wasn't a cry for help. It wasn't a final message. It was just a sigh. A quiet, digital sigh of a lonely mother. And I had treated it like a 5-alarm fire. I had flown across the country because of a sigh. I saw it on Jake's feed, I whispered, my own eyes burning. I thought something was wrong. I thought you were... I couldn't say it. The word felt too big, too final. You thought I was dying? She finished for me, her voice gentle now. Oh, Tyler. No, I'm just sad. Hearing her say it out loud was worse than any dramatic scenario I'd imagined on the plane. Her sadness was a quiet, living thing in the room. It was real, and I had caused it. I blocked you, I confessed. The words were acid in my mouth. On everything. I was embarrassed. This client made a joke about your comments, about the long paragraphs, the heart emojis, and I snapped. I wanted my profile to look cool. I wanted me to look cool. So I erased you. I finally looked directly at her, forcing myself to hold her gaze, to see the damage I'd done. It was the cruelest thing I've ever done, I said, my voice cracking. And I am so sorry. She was quiet for a long time. She just looked at me. She looked at the man her little boy had become. A man who would block his own mother to look cool for strangers on the internet. Finally, she took a deep, shaky breath. I knew, she said softly. My blood ran cold. You knew? About a week after you did it, she nodded. I was at the library using their computer. I tried to look at your Instagram. It said, user not found. I thought maybe you'd deleted your account. So I checked Facebook. Same thing. I typed your name into the search bar, and your profile just wasn't there. For me, she gave a small, helpless shrug. At first, I thought it was a glitch. The library computers are old. So I went home and tried on my phone. Same thing. I called Linda from next door. I asked her to look you up. She said your profile was right there. All your pictures, your trip to Joshua Tree, your new couch. It was all there. It was just hidden from me. She looked down at her hands, folded in her lap. That's when I knew. You didn't want to talk to me. Fine. But you didn't want me to even see you anymore. That hurt, Tyler. That hurt more than any argument we ever had. I had no air left in my lungs. I had thought my action was silent, painless. I had no idea she had gone through all of that. The library, calling the neighbor, the slow dawning, humiliating realization that her son had actively hidden himself from her. Mom, I started, but no other words came. She stood up. She walked over to the cake. She picked up the single white candle. She held it between her thumb and forefinger. You don't need my help to blow out your candles anymore, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I know that. You're a grown man. You have your own life. A life I'm apparently not welcome in. She opened the drawer next to the sink, the junk drawer, full of tape and scissors and random batteries, and dropped the candle inside. It landed with a soft, final rattle. But you will always be my son, she said, turning back to me, and I will always be on your team, even if you're not on mine. She walked over to me. She didn't hug me. She just reached out and brushed a piece of lint off the shoulder of my wrinkled shirt. A simple, motherly gesture that shattered what was left of my heart. "You look tired," she said, "and you have no shoes. Go upstairs. Your old room is still there. Get some sleep." She turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with the cake and the crushing weight of my own choices. The consequence wasn't a dramatic scene. It was this quiet, devastating forgiveness I didn't deserve. This love that was still there, even after I tried to throw it away. I was home, and I had never understood until this exact moment what that word truly meant. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after she left, just staring at that stupid cake on its green plate. The morning sun kept getting brighter, making the blue frosting look almost electric. I could hear her moving around upstairs, the floorboards creaking in that specific pattern I knew meant she was in her bedroom, probably getting ready for her day, a normal Saturday. Except her son was standing in her kitchen with no shoes on, his whole world tilted off its axis. I reached out and touched the cake, just poked the frosting with my finger. It was stiff. A little crust had formed on the surface. She'd bought it a week ago. She'd been living with this hurt for a week while I was in LA, carefully curating my life, thinking I'd gotten away with something, thinking my silence was clean. I looked around the kitchen, really looked. At the magnet on the fridge, holding up my third-grade report card. At the chip in the countertop from when I dropped a glass, trying to get a midnight snack. At the faded photo of me and her at the beach, tucked into the corner of the window frame. I was maybe 5. She was holding me up, both of us squinting at the camera. We looked happy. We looked like a team. I had spent so much time and energy building a life that looked nothing like this kitchen. Polished, minimalist, all neutral colors and clean lines. No clutter. No memories sitting out in the open where people could see them, where they could judge them. I had thought her comments on my posts were clutter. I thought she was messing up my clean, cool aesthetic. But standing here, I realized my entire LA life was the real clutter. It was full of meaningless things, expensive things, things that didn't tell a story about who I was, only about who I wanted people to think I was. Her quiet, "I will always be on your team, even if you're not on mine," echoed in my head. It was the truest thing anyone had ever said to me. I pulled out my phone, my expensive, sleek phone with its cracked screen from my panicked run to the airport. I opened Instagram. My profile loaded. Pictures of my perfectly styled apartment, my artfully arranged desk, a photo of a latte with foam shaped like a leaf. It all looked so hollow, so stupid. My thumb hovered over the settings. I went to the blocked users list. There she was, Margaret Harris. Just a name and a default gray silhouette. I had reduced my own mother to a gray silhouette. I took a deep breath, and I pressed unblock. It was that simple. One tap. The digital wall I had built came down, just like that. Her profile popped up immediately. Her picture was the same one from the beach photo in the window. She was smiling. I scrolled through her feed. Pictures of her garden, a book she was reading, a funny sign she saw at the grocery store, a picture of the cake from the same angle I was looking at it now. My heart ached. It was a whole life, a good life. A life I had been voluntarily excluding myself from because I was worried about what some random client thought about emojis. I didn't stop there. I went to my own profile. I found the post the client had joked about. It was a picture of a sunset I'd taken in Malibu. And there, right at the top of the comments, was my mom's deleted comment. It had reappeared the second I unblocked her. I clicked to see it. "It's beautiful, Ty. It reminds me of that sunset we watched from the porch when you were 10. You said it looked like the sky was on fire. I love you." That was it. That was the embarrassing comment. That was the clutter I had erased her for. A memory of a sunset and her saying she loved me. A sob finally broke free from my chest. It was a raw, ugly sound in the quiet kitchen. I put my phone down on the table, and I cried. I cried for her. I cried for me. I cried for the version of myself that thought blocking his mom was a step up in the world. When I finally got myself together, my face was wet and my head was pounding. I was exhausted. I felt like I'd been run over, but for the first time in a month, I also felt clean. I walked upstairs. The steps felt familiar under my socks. My old room was at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. It was exactly the same. The blue comforter. The posters of bands I hadn't listened to in years on the walls. The desk where I did my homework. A layer of dust covered everything. But it was my room. It was a time capsule of a boy who would have been horrified by the man who blocked his mom. I sat on the edge of the bed. The springs groaned the same way they always had. I toed off my dirty socks and lay down, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars still stuck to the ceiling. I was home. I must have fallen asleep, because the next thing I knew, a soft knock came at the door. It pushed open, and my mom stood there. She had changed out of her robe into jeans and a t-shirt. She was holding 2 plates. "I thought you might be hungry," she said, her voice quiet. She came in and put 1 plate on the nightstand next to me. It had a huge, thick sandwich on it. Turkey and cheese, with lettuce and tomato the way she always made them. And a handful of potato chips on the side. On the other plate was a slice of the vanilla cake with the blue frosting. She didn't say anything else. She just put the plates down and turned to leave. "Mom," I said, my voice raspy from sleep and crying. She stopped at the door and looked back at me. "I unblocked you," I said. She nodded slowly. A small, real smile touched her lips. "I know." "You know?" "My phone buzzed about an hour ago," she said. "A notification that you'd liked my cake photo." Of course. The digital world moves fast. My simple action had already sent a ripple back to her. There was no more hiding. "I'm sorry," I said again. It felt inadequate, but it was all I had. "I know you are, honey," she said. And then she did something she hadn't done since I'd arrived. She walked over, leaned down, and kissed my forehead. It was a simple, automatic gesture. A mother kissing her son goodnight. Or in this case, good morning. "Eat your sandwich before it gets soggy." She left, closing the door softly behind her. I sat up and looked at the food. The perfect sandwich, the slice of cake. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't a dramatic reconciliation. It was lunch. It was her way of saying, "I'm still your mom. I still feed you." It was everything. I picked up the sandwich and took a bite. It was the best thing I had ever tasted. Later that day, I sat on the front porch steps with her. We didn't talk much. We just watched the cars go by. The sun was warm on my face. I was still in my clothes from yesterday, but I felt more like myself than I had in years. I knew I'd have to go back to LA eventually, back to my job, my apartment, my life. But it wouldn't be the same life. I would never be the same person. Before I left 2 days later, I took a picture, not of something cool or curated. I took a picture of the green plate on the kitchen table. It was empty now. The cake was gone. We'd eaten the last of it for breakfast. I posted it to my Instagram story. No filter, no clever caption. Just one sentence. This is what home feels like. And the first heart emoji that popped up in the replies was from her. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you of your own family, your own mistakes, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Thanks for listening.